Welcome. Delve with me into the Shattered Isles. I'm your dungeon master, Kevin. Also go as the Silence. And this is my own homebrew campaign, the Shattered Isles. A little bit of history. The old megacontinent was destroyed, and a lot of mystery is surrounding this. But this isn't our story. Our story takes place approximately 50 years after the world shattered. The basic premise in the history that's pretty well known is that there was some sort of evil that called upon all the civilized races to unite and travel together to lead this final assault on the land near the center of the megacontinent. And they traveled there, and it happened to be the land of the gnomes, and they united. They traveled there and never to be heard of again. The result of the battle was the world shattering. A lot of information was lost. A lot of cities were destroyed. The entire world was just broken apart. Now, our story is gonna not take place on the whole world scale. We're gonna zoom in on the island, a small island to the northwest, kind of in the middle there, where a group of heroes, a group of players, we'll say, are going to come together and go on an adventure. And that is the adventure that I'll be guiding them through and helping to tell. So let's meet these players. All right. So first off, we have Dandy, a half-orc. He's not your typical half-orc, as he is a result of a experiment within the orc culture. His father was hoping to create a half-orc that could disguise himself as a human in order to infiltrate different civilized nations, because this orcs really came to power with this, because they did not unify to fight this final battle, so therefore their armies were not lost, and their opposition was greatly reduced. So they tried to expand, and Dandy saw this opportunity as a means to escape, because he did not share in his father's quest. He was more interested in his mother, who was a science experiment, and it was a very intense, torturous even science. So he would play music to soothe her, and he's going to travel the world as a bard and continue to spread his music and love of song to everyone, as per his mother's request. Now, our next character is Mim. He's a gnome wizard. The shattering happened around the gnome society, so he is believed to be the last known gnome in existence in this universe. And there's a lot of shadows and mystery around his backstory, because he has lost his memory, and there is a lot of confusion, and so he's trying to rediscover himself. But it's hard to rediscover yourself when you are lacking in memory, and it doesn't seem to be getting better. So his story is one to be built and later revealed, maybe. So our next character is Varys Springdale. He is an elf who lived in isolation, worshipping his goddess of water and groves, Eldith, and he lived in isolation for hundreds of years. And the only reason why he was ever discovered is when the world shattered. Their grove was located on the same isle as the orcs main city, Dalturge. So when they went to expand, they were limited as they did not have boats, as there was no previous need. So they stumbled upon this grove that could only stay hidden for so long. And the grove was, when the world shattered, was starting to dry up anyways, and it was a struggle to maintain. So they came across his grove, destroyed it, and he was able to escape and hide in one of their boats. Last is alright, so here's Varys. Last is Renga. He is the human monk. He has a pretty dark childhood that left him alone on the streets, and with this madness that was hard to, that he's constantly trying to suppress. He was taken in by this monk order, and his mentor taught him to focus his energies and to try to calm his inner beast in order to pursue his own goals and achieve a life of balance. So his story is one of trying to attain contentment. So, and how they come together, well, so the orcs have a slave ship of sorts. They're using it as they slowly expand. Someone must have a ship stumbled across their isle, and they seized it, and they used it to travel, pick up slaves, pick up anyone they can to row the ships. Varys was hiding in the bottom of this as he fled from his grove being destroyed. Dandy, of course, trying to escape. This boat that traveled away from his main island seemed like a very reasonable escape, so he's their bard for entertainment. Mim was picked up at one of the previous things and was trying to convince the orcish sailors that his storytelling abilities would be so valuable that they needed to keep him around, despite him being old and not so interested in rowing. And then Renga, our last character, was found found on a rock, like after his mentor passed away of natural causes. He went to their favorite fishing rock he's trying to calm his mind. So all these characters meet up with a whole lot of NPCs who look remarkably similar, and as it begins, it's pretty standard, and we can continue on. And Mim recalls a vague memory of where they're at, and he understands that they must be near the city of Polance. Now, speaking of Polance, this triggers the one of the other fellow slaves on the ship, to remember a song. Now, I'm going to sing you this song, and it's very important to the story. So even though this is the abridged session, this will come in this will come in as pretty pivotal later on. So, there once was a girl who lived in Poland. She could carry a tune, but don't ask her to dance. One night with her, and I caught something fickle. I went straight out of town, for it smelled of a pickle. Keep on your pants and polans, yo. Keep on your pants and polans. Keep on your pants and polans, yeah. Keep on your pants and polans. Now, the orcs were not too keen on this song, so Cloga comes over, slices off some of his skin, holds it up to the torch, gets it nice and crispy, chews on it. Cloga Skin Cruncher. It's kind of how he got his name. Anyways, so this goes on, and it continues, and Mim incites a little bit of a mutiny and causes the slaves to start to attack the orcs, which wasn't, too outlandish considering the fact that they just witnessed this act from the orc on one of the fellow slaves. So he uses this opportunity to incite a little bit of a mutiny, and then he hides under the ship, and he finds Varys. So those two heroes are together. Rengar kind of stayed above to hold down the oars and keep the boat moving. Dandy trying to keep things calm, but mostly kind of staying out of it. As the battle commenced, there started to be a lot more chaos amongst the orcs. So Rengar decides to duck under the ship as well. So we've got 3 of the main characters hiding under the ship, and Mim decides to take off his robes and cast a firebolt to catch fire to the ship. And he then whispers to Dandy mystically to let him know that the boat is on fire. Dandy refuses to break the chain of command to address this information, but this finds a loophole and disguises himself as the captain. And that went pretty well. There was enough chaos happening that it wasn't too ridiculous of a thing to happen, and he goes and convinces the orc at the head of the ship to steer towards land, towards a isle containing the city of Polans, and the fire begins to burn a little brighter, and they start crawling around the ship. Varys, the elf, actually abandoned ships to swim in the water. Had a little bit of a earlier when they started the fire. Mim convinced Varys to remove all of his armor and clothes to help start the fire. So that might be jokey here a little bit about later on going in with the story. So as the ship starts to burn, the orcs start to fall, mostly just from fighting amongst one another and with the slaves. The boat starts heading towards land, and Dandy's trying to save as many of the slaves as he can while they're going there. And so the ship nearly fallen apart. Half the slaves burn alive. The only orc left to not perish is Cloga. And so then they land on the Isle of containing Polance. They're going to land on the northeast side, and it's going to this island. So when they land, it's just them, Cloga, and several slaves to make it. And Dandy's disguise as the captain wears off, and so this is where we end the session. So the ship has crashed on shore. The Dandy's disguise wears off, and Cloga's trying to keep everything under control, and we'll have to tune into the next session, abridged or full version, to see how they handled that. Hope you enjoyed this little segment. I created their heroes using HeroMachine3.com. I use Dungeon Painter Studio for most of my backgrounds. I tend to fill things up with tokens on the Roll20 website, and they seem to pull a lot of their images from Dungenie.com. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you come back. We'll be waiting for you on the Shattered Isles. Thanks.